Islam, 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 and welcome to Moorish Heritage and History School. This is your host, Anita L., along with my co-host, Ms. Rain Alice L.
Peace and love, love and peace. Good to be here, great to be here, so good to be online.
All right, and RVBey.
It's Mom, peace and love to all. It's also good to be here tonight. All right.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
L.
Islam, peace and hotep, Morris.
Islam.
Islam.
Peace and love, Noble. Peace and love, fan.
Islam, and the gang is all here. We can get the show started.
MHHS-Eyes Wide Open. We here.
All right. I want to thank all of our listeners, especially our internet listeners. Peace and love. The chat room is open. Big shout out to our family listening over in Great Britain, Japan, South Africa, the Netherlands, Mexico, Venezuela, Cuba, and to locations that we have yet to connect to. Peace and love, and thank you for joining in. Big shout out to our callers. Thank you so much for calling in every week, filling up the phone lines before the show even gets started. Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate you calling in, adding your energy, uplifting, calling humanity as we do so together. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. Each week what we do is public service announcements where we make an announcement of all the Moors that have been kidnapped across the nation as their names are brought to us. And we identify the corporation, or I should say the employees of the corporation, disguised as government under the names of counties, cities, township, boroughs who kidnapped those Moors. And we also make mention of the union state that is in purview of these corporations. And by purview, what we mean is that in harmony or in accordance to the American Constitution 1791, all union states are obligated to protect all people from foreign and domestic invasion. So it is only right that we notify them, or I should say CC them, on these human violations, and they are obligated to do something in terms of protecting the people. And if they don't, that is called treason. So we make this public service announcement each week. And we start off with our sister RVBey, kidnapped through a joint venture between Memphis and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee, Dawood Ill under the purview of Arkansas, Amir Moslamin Ill and Pustu Rakushbey under the purview of Missouri, Asar Patar Amin Rave under the purview of Ohio, Jeremy Taylor Ill, Cherry Thorne Bay, Jamie Count Brooks Bay, Joseph Kanaday Ill, Fish Amir Bunch Ill, Manuel Billings Bay, Yasin Khalik Alamin Ill, Michael Curry, Notlim Dunlap Bay, kidnapped Montgomery Corporation, all under the purview of North Carolina. We have Noble Crystal Ill, kidnapped under the purview of New Jersey. And then we have Messiah Aziz Ill and Crystal Ill, both kidnapped through joint venture by Mercer Corporation, Freehold Corporation, and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. Eldridge Teron Fisher Ill and Marquise Avion Ill, kidnapped under the purview of Indiana. Solomon Ill Bay, Mumi Abu Bay, kidnapped under the purview of Texas. William Barrett Ill, and kidnapped under the purview of Virginia. Bomani Avidwil Ill, kidnapped by Chesapeake Corporation under the purview of Virginia. RVBey, kidnapped under the purview of West Virginia. Thomas Lee Bay, kidnapped under the purview of California. Victor Eduardo Valle Juarez Hill, kidnapped by Harlem Corporation under the purview of Georgia. And the last but not least, Patricia Bay and her infant baby, as well as Malik Bay, all kidnapped by Atlantic Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. All right, so that is our Moors, that is our public announcement, and that is the family that we have been made aware of that has been kidnapped by these employees of these various corporations are currently being held hostage for under a demand for income. All righty, if you have a family member or someone that you know who would like them to be added to this list, please send an email to MHHS-Eyes-Wide-Open@gmail.com and in the subject line put kidnapped Moor. All righty, so let us get into our subject matter of this show. You know, what does it mean when family starts to close ranks? Prophet Noble Drew said, study, study, study. Why? He also said, watch the newspaper. And I know somebody will clarify me exactly on what that verbiage was, but the question is, why? Why watch the newspaper, the media, whatever? Because if you're doing what was strongly suggested, you would know what is going on, which way the wind is blowing, and what exactly certain actions mean. So tonight we will discuss some of the current events that in essence is, quote, writing on the wall. Now, many of us may or may not, I mean, it's amazing to me because I did not have, I never watched the media. I never watched the media. I don't even have cable in my house because I just don't. I just don't have the finance to jot down that rabbit hole. So I don't have cable. And so, but I invariably always seem to end up places where somebody who has cable has something going, and it's like, you know, you're supposed to be there at the right time in the right place. And so I was there at the right time in the right place, and I heard certain events. And as I was listening, you know, I'm like, okay, what is this really saying? Because, you know, a lot of times we hear things, and we tendency of just running away with it. We don't stop and turn it over in our heads and reflect and ask ourselves questions like, okay, I think I see what this is, but what is it really saying to me? What's going on here? And if we and you know, in that study, I think it is so imperative that we take the time to digest what we have seen or heard in terms of world events. Because in that digesting, things will start to connect and you will see a fuller picture if you take a digest. And this is what I did. So I'm watching this whole bombing thing going on over in France. And I'm like, and what's going on? I haven't seen any clip, nothing. I'm just like hearing blurts and blurts. And it's like I hear a little blurb over here. France, some bombing is going on in France. They're blaming this ISIS. We don't know what ISIS is, who it is, what, you know, is it a person? Is it a couple of people? Are they Asiatic and Mali? What is ISIS? Has anybody seen ISIS? I mean, it's so funny. It's so ridiculous. It's almost funny. But stay calm and pay attention to more. So we're into this. Where is ISIS? Oh my God, is ISIS here, there? Where is it? it's just ridiculous. So I'm just looking at this, and I'm like, okay, so the invisible ISIS has bombed Paris. Now I'm hearing this, the sidelines, the peripheral sidelines. ISIS has bombed Paris, and supposedly a bunch of people have died. And I'm like, all right, let me just chill on this and see what's going on. What is this all about? And so then we hear about this whole, Syria is responsible for this bombing in Paris. And I'm like, okay, what is going on? So it just so happens that I was on the internet looking for something, and I ran into the president of Russia making some sort of speech, and it was 22 minutes. So I'm like, let me see, what is this? What is this about? And I'm listening to it, and in this speech, he said something, and I'm like, wait a minute, did he say what I just think he said? So I ended up downloading this 22-minute speech of the president of Russia, and I'm listening to it, and then by energies guided me to find the translation of the speech, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, wow. Now, see, if you just heard the so-called bombing in France by the so-called, invisible, we don't know what, called ISIS, and if you just heard that, you'd be running around like chickens with your heads cut off like most of the people are right now. The prophet said study for a reason, and he also said pay attention to to the newspaper media. And so I'm digesting this. Next thing I hear, and we talked about this last week, is Hillary Clinton and what's the other guy? The crazy guy, Trump and Jeb Bush of all people running around talking about let's close the borders. We're not letting any more Islamic people in. We're just if you're a Christian, we'll let you in. And I'm like, okay, so what's going on? So I said, let's digest this. Like the prophet said, in order to have something to digest, you got to be studying. And, sometimes studying comes in all different forms. It can be listening. It could be paying attention. It could be reading. But the bottom line is in order for you to have something to digest, meaning contemplate on, turn around in your cranium, you got to have something that you have studied. So I'm like, okay, let me digest this a little bit more. What exactly is going on? Then, out of the blue, way over in left field, we hear this Sheehan guy. I can't even remember his name. This Sheehan guy who's always in the media cussing people out. All of a sudden, he's on the TV talking about, I have AIDS. I've been diagnosed with the HIV positive. I've had it for 4 years. Have you been having sex? Yes, I've been having sex. Did you tell people? No, I haven't been. You're not going to be brought up on charges. I'm like, okay, something is afoot here. I'm looking at this objectively, and I'm like, okay, let's just chill. Let's digest this. Let's see what exactly is happening. And then as I'm sitting here thinking, I remember the United States of America, not to be confused with the United States. The United States of America has a beef, or I should say France has a beef with the United States of America, because the United States of America, I want to say in maybe the 1960s or something, attempted to assassinate the president of France. So I'm like, all right, what is the significance of that? Well, in one of the interviews that I had heard about this so-called bombing, murdering, shooting going on in France, it was alleged that the shooter, the two shooters, was Islamic. But the on-ground testimony of standby witnesses said that, no, the shooters were modern Europeans, husky people, not of the build of the so-called Islamic people. So I'm like, oh, so America is why would they be trying to do that? They started a beef because they have a standing beef with France. So they go over the air. They're in the skies as Islamic people, and supposedly they're shooting people, but according to the reports, there was no blood, splattering of blood, so it's questionable if that actually happened. And then you see on YouTube, it was all staged. It really didn't happen. And I'm like, okay. I'm looking at this, and I'm like, okay, so they started something in France to start this campaign. What was the campaign about? Next, we hear the president of Russia identifying who some of the members of this ISIS group is, and one of the members is the United States of America. Certain people of the United States of America, they're a part of this ISIS group. So then we hear the president of Russia talking about how they were dropping bombs. The United States of America will not cooperate with them. They're asking them, where should we drop the bomb? The United States is silent. So then Russia is like, okay, this and this is happening. What should we do? Can you assist us, United States of America? United States of America sends back. Now Russia's calling the United States of America, but the United States of America sends them like a memo, we will not be getting involved. So Russia continues dropping bombs. Then the people of Serbia says, hey, United States of America says, you're dropping the bombs in the wrong place. So Russia says, well, where should we be dropping them? No answer. Serbia steps in. Serbia says, don't drop the bombs over here. These are our people. So Russia says, okay, no problem. Now there's a dialogue between Russia and Serbia and Russia and France. Now, what a lot of people don't know is the Russia, France, and Serbia, those are originally operated Moors. They are part of the Moorish family. So what's happening? The Moors of France, the Moors of Russia, and the Moors of Serbia, they're closing up ranks. The stepchild in this whole scenario is the United States of America. So when the United States of America sees the handwriting on the wall, all the Aboriginal indigenous nations of planet Earth are joining up to, they're having a dialogue, and they're closing up ranks. All of a sudden, here comes your modern Europeans, your Hillary Clintons and your Donald Trumps and your Jeb Bushes talking about, we have to protect ourselves. We have nowhere to run to, nowhere to hide. Close off the borders. Don't let no more Islamic people in, because Islamic people generally refer to Aboriginal indigenous people or modern Europeans who are on the side of the Aboriginal indigenous people, all right? Because if you notice, if you have been paying attention, walking around the nation here, there's a lot of modern Europeans dressed up in this hijab. They looking Islamic. They ain't looking Christian. So they're like, if they look or sound like they're Islamic, we ain't letting them in. We're closing it off. We're going to protect ourselves because the family outside of the United States, this continent, Morocco right here, the family outside of this continent, they're closing up ranks. And the only reason that we are not amongst those families that's closing up ranks is we are still asleep. Too many of us are still asleep, but we waking up. We are waking up. And so now what they're doing is they're importing a lot of Hindustanis over here, a lot of so-called Pakistanis. But here is oh goodness, what is the word that I can use? Here is the rub, so to speak. Even though these modern Europeans are importing Hindustanis and Pakistanis, supposedly because they don't like us, even though we are family, what is going to happen is they're going to have those so-called Islamic people that they don't like outside closing up ranks as well as inside closing up ranks. Because one thing that always happens with family, if you read the history of the Moors, we might fight like cats and dogs. But when it really gets down to get down, we link up and get rid of our common foe. And that is what we have always done historically. And I don't foresee it changing now, especially if you take into consideration that we already know the end game thanks to Prophet Noble Jew Ali. He said it don't matter which way it looks like it's going to go. In the end, it's all going to end up in the hands of the Moor. So make sure you study, so that you will know what is going on, and absolutely take time to digest the information, because you don't want to be like those modern Europeans that's about to be running wild in the street, like chickens with their heads cut off, like they already are being set up to do now. Now, the reason I throw that Charlie Sheehan guy out there into the mix is because they really don't want the people to pay attention to what's going on. So they throw Charlie Sheehan out there. Oh, I got AIDS. I had it for 4 years. I've been having sex with women. And, yeah, I probably gave them AIDS. Oh, here. Now you got all these sanctimonious, righteous people on his behind because he was acting unethical. But the real deal is you got a national issue going on. But the issue doesn't affect the nationals. It affects the Johnny-come-latelys, the modern Europeans, under the style of the United States of America, who always go out there speaking like United States, and then they forget of America, or they say things like the Americans, but they drop the citizens as opposed to the nationals. So we got to be clear. Who is who and what is what? And if you're not studying, you ain't going to have nothing to digest, and you're going to be out there on the streets running around like a chicken with your head cut off with these modern Europeans. So you better listen to the prophet. You better take up your books. You better read. You better study and watch the news. Islam.
Islam. I just wanted to put a book out there since you're talking about Russia. You can probably get it online. The author is Alison Blakely, Alison Blakely, and the name of the book is Russia and the Negro, Blacks in Russian History and Thought. And here they do talk about who really anciently had jurisdiction in that part of the world. And it wasn't pale people.
Absolutely. And you know what else? If you watched Django, they let you know what the relation is of the Russians to the Moors. You know, the Tsar, which is the head of the family of Russia, those are Moors. They're not modern Europeans. So he gave you a clue in that movie, Django.
and then remember that when you see them, like when people talk about the Sultan and old slavery and things like that, remember that the modern people who are in these places are playing imposter, because the real czars and the real whatever want to be Negro, black, colored, African people.
That's right.
They don't want to be the ancient foremothers and forefathers were, because everybody's going to cast doubt or whatever, but 80% to 90% of the things Noble Drew Ali said in the 1920s are going on right now. So nobody can say he's not a prophet. can't bring any evidence to prove that he's not, because everything that we're going through right now is things that he said in the 1920s is going to happen if we don't take heed to what he's saying. Because, he's the thought of Allah manifested in flesh. He's not some man walking around, not going on a soapbox, trying to inspire black people to do something. That's a thought of Allah. Or thought of Yahweh, thought of Amen Ra, whatever you want to call that supreme being of yours. That supreme being, regardless what religion belongs to, what nationality you belong to, or whatever, sent a prophet in the 1920s. Forget all the other ones before, because, he's 5 times more powerful than them. That's not hearsay. That's check the record, and you'll see that everything that he spoke about is happening right now, down to earthquakes and stuff like that going on, down to, Milwaukee got snow, and we even have snow yet in Canaan land. We're supposed to be having snow right now. Drawley said that the warm weather is going to be in the north. Happening right now, and people take this thing for some joke. Pope even came out and said Christmas is a charade and all that stuff. Where people need to embrace peace. Isn't that one of the Moor's 5 principles? Popes telling people that they need to embrace peace during Christmas time and stop the wars. That Noble Drawley said, you're going to go to the store, people with bayonets and all that stuff. So everything's manifesting right now. And, honors to all the Moors before, I get off my soapbox. Honors to all the Moors, the active Moors, the studious Moors that know the truth about their nationality and their birthright, and will never, ever abandon their nationality and their birthright. Ever. At no cost will we abandon our birthright and claim to be some fictitious thing that we know that we're not. Now yield the floor, Islam.
Wow. Peace and love, family. To add on, that was a strong statement. I'm in tune with everything that's being said, but I just wanted to add on. My perspective, since you mentioned ISIS and that French bombing, right? I think that, personally, this is just my thoughts, and I'm pretty sure we're all on the same wavelength. But the fact that they're using another aboriginal correlation to denote something bad, or promote something that nobody wants to be connected to. First and foremost, I premise my position with this. Most Moors in the Western Hemisphere who don't know that they're Moors, who think that they're Negro, black, and colored, when they see what's going on, it's a tendency to blame America, because Europeans have associated themselves with that word. I think it's the same thing with this whole ISIS thing and correlating it and trying to blame Islam. Not to go too far back, but just looking at different aspects of Asiatic culture, things that were written and left for us to research and connect to see the universal principles in it that, most of these things have been given a bad rep. The Appalachian America itself, when they use that, it's like they refer, for the most part, those who don't know what it means refer to it or think of European imagery. And that goes back to arts, which I want to correlate something with that in a brief moment. But that being the example that I trust we all could relate to, that, how it has been used, and now today we're waking up to the fact that these words don't apply to who we thought they applied to. This is just my perspective from this particular reference on the subject of ISIS and how I think it's a misrepresentation in a certain sense. I don't know, but this is from the references I have. We all know already, about the, Egyptian deities of honoring those in the flesh, not necessarily idolatry, but just honoring those in the flesh in correlation with the as above, so below concept. I say this, from the Light of Egypt, page 105, it says, note, the 10 ages or Kali Yugs are also in the east, shown under the symbol of the 10 avatars, the goddess Kali of the old Hindus being a kind of geological Isis. And I'm going to stop there because, or hold on, excuse me, let me finish that. Being a kind of geological Isis or queen of geological formations. Now, I don't want to get off subject, but correlating that with how they're implying ISIS is a terrorist group, I'm saying in this ancient aspect, it has a whole nother meaning or reference to ideas that was manifested, for us to correlate with. So, opposed to, looking at a European Jesus and thinking that that's God, this is giving you something else to relate to, like an Asiatic culture. Not that we're into idolatry at all, but I'm just saying that Isis, that word correlating with geological or the queen of geological formations and the moon, which that's the function of the moon, magnetic, feminine mother energy. That's it. To denote that and correlate that with, an outrage of terrorist attacks, I just think that that's a fallacy. That's flawed, first and foremost. Also, just to get on track, knowing, like you were saying, Cujo, about not abandoning our nationality and birthrights. It's also correlative with not abandoning our history, and knowing as well that when we say that we are, in fact, and indeed Asiatics, and we comprehend that Russia is also a part of Asia, like, it should be to no surprise that we have Asiatics in historical context known to correlate with Russia. Sometimes we focus in and we don't keep up with everything that's going on, as far as the daily progressions of, transgressions or peaceful ways. Like you said, this is a time to adopt peace, and there's a lot of transgressors at the same time. But I know that knowing our history and correlating what these words really mean back to its true perspective, opposed to what's being pumped in the media as far as the misrepresentations. To denote the word ISIS with terror is flawed in itself. So that's a false premise. Moors are all over. There's Moorish history in Russia, China, all over the planet Earth. And with that said, we definitely will be posting a few things up to correlate with that fact. And at the present time, I yield the floor. Islam, because I know you had something to add on, man.
Islam.
Islam, peace and love. Go ahead, Amy. You say what you want to say, because I want to find something that we have on the site. And while I find that, to comment on, this has proof that the dominion of Moors was Prussia, Russia, and a few others. Now, it's on the site already on John Adams' analysis letter. We also added that page, remember that, where it showed what the dominions were? If you recall, yes. So it's already been there to affirm what's being said. But I'm going to find that, and if you had a comment, go ahead, and then I'll come back on it.
Oh, all right. I really didn't, but I can have a comment.
I'm sure that you can.
Yeah, go ahead. No, good back.
It was something well, go ahead. Go right on in.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
No. I just will share this real quickly. I had a thought that correlated with what you said about, Moors marching around in the street like chickens with their heads cut off. On that same vein, I just wanted to give a big acknowledgement to Cujo right now, because the way you're giving it up with the videos right now is beautiful. You're letting the facts speak through the visuals, and I say that correlating with the fact that it was a clip in there. I don't know who this guy was, but he was going in about people marching in the street like that's getting something done. And
it
was
the pastor.
Yeah, it was a pastor. I don't know who he was. Yeah, I just want that thought correlated with me, and the energy and the frequency of the information is just being transmitted right now. Is that that particular video definitely correlates with what you're saying. That particular clip. So yeah, you might be able to add on and give the people reference of who that was, and but it was definitely correlative. And I didn't mean to cut your wisdom, but please go in.
I don't know. I don't even know who the man was. It was just how YouTube goes. You get on there and start putting in stuff, and stuff comes up. Anything can come up on freaking YouTube. So it's that time right now. Like when you talk about it's the Aquarian age or whatever. We can look at it as right now there's a spiritual renaissance going on right now. Like people are really trying to get back to their self. People who you never thought are coming up talking about they're going natural or whatever. People who you never thought talking about, they're vegan now. Actually on Sunday, coming from class on Sunday, get dropped off at the building, come inside the building, there's some people waiting for the door. So, open the door, go inside, waiting for the elevator. This is probably maybe the 19-year-old. Was that a fez? Mind you, they're Filipino. Yeah, there's a fez. How you know about fezes? Oh, they are from our country or whatever, The granddad had one, and an uncle had one, and whatever had one. This is somebody from somewhere else that they recognize our position because it's something that is part of their history. Because, like we said earlier, the Moors been everywhere and left their influence everywhere. There's no, and this is why too, like, the thing with the videos, it's, I want to say Islam to Brother Rami Salam L and Brother Sheldon L, that really inspired what's going on, and peace to Brother Bukhari for putting me onto this editing program so we could put this stuff out, because it's been on my mind a long time, because I'm personally at the stage now where I've been Negro, black, colored, all the stuff, and I know that stuff's not real. You know what I mean? And for people to present that as a reality to people, knowing that they just shot another brother just now, and just like the video said, what are they going to do? Go out there marching again, blocking traffic. And when people start running them over, they're going to talk about people are racist or whatever. Because people are going to get fed up eventually and be like, forget this blocking traffic for 5 hours or whatever. I have stuff to do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Right? Because you know, again, Noble Drew Ali is the solver of the Negro problem.
Yes, say it again. Say it again.
There's nothing else that is going to solve the Negro problem but Negroes recognizing that they're Moors.
Hello.
Like, that's it. Everything else that they want to say that, oh yeah, that's what they want to do or whatever, all right, then, you know, make sure you stay away from those people, because people are going to be dealing with those cases. Go look on YouTube and go see all the so-called, you know, European militia groups stepping up now to say, yo, you know, don't be trying to pull no rank or nothing like that. But we have right to bear, because they already know that these people are stateless. And possess them even possessing a quote unquote arm, gun, whatever, they're getting time for that. And Europeans not getting no time. And they really think that it's a, you know, machine to machine war going on right now. You better have a higher self and, you know, be in tune with what's going on in the stars and stuff like that. But if you think that you have to be in tune with something on this earth plane to get out of what's going on in this earth plane, you're already done for. You're already swept up.
Mm-hmm.
Because the only program that is gonna help this, that's why man said the motto of the Moorish movement is uplifting fallen humanity. That's the motto. Forget all the whatever he said or whatever. The motto is, make sure you tell, if you know, make sure you go tell somebody who doesn't know. You better tell somebody who doesn't know, or you're going to get something that you're not going to like. In whatever way, however you got to do it, doesn't matter. You better make sure that you tell somebody who doesn't know. Because people have to know that they're not Negro, black, colored, etc., etc., that they're Moors, and that's it. That's all they could be. They can't be anything else. If you're anything else, it's a fraud, because really you're property to whatever corporation is claiming jurisdiction of property.
Mm-hmm.
And if the people aren't straight, right? Like we can say, like Moor's Grand Chief Nature was talking about it, about how people they have access to information at their fingertips, and they're more lazy than Moors 20 years ago that used to have to go to the library and go through page by page for references. You use keywords. In fact, Islam to Brother Casanova Bay, who taught me about the keywords. You can use keywords and find anything on the internet. Anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what kind of information is at people's fingertips right now that you can find anything out? You could find out about anything, how to do anything. The information is available. Why? Because it's that time right now. Why? Because in 1920s, Noble Drew Ali said he's taken away all the secrets. And now we're getting flooded with stuff so much stuff we don't even know what the hell to do with all this information we got.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even have enough hands to write enough books with all the information that we got. We just say, forget it, just forget it. I'm not even writing no more books. I'm not even, soon there's going to be more Iron Sheik albums, because like, how much stuff are we going to do? That's why people who are, you know, say a little bit more advanced, they step back. Because the reality is, what Noble Drew Ali said, there's only going to be a handful saved anyways. You don't need to, get the stadium to try to wake up these people. You don't need some big, whatever, with the seats all lined up or whatever like that. You get some little classroom or whatever, 5 or 6 people, that's who it is. And then we deal with the science. Again, Noble Drew Ali brought the 101 questionnaire, which is catechism, which is a science of unifying minds on a specific thought.
Yes.
And then NOI, all these people followed the program, Nation of Gods on Earth, question-answer format, and nobody's not giving credit to the foundation of black people doing that in the Americas. Like, Noble Drew Ali brought that question-answer stuff that you see all these people doing right now. Or their founders of whatever did. Because that's a science to get everybody on the same thought. Mm-hmm. And then you take those 5 Moors that you're around, and the 5 of you on one thought, and then you go in the Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, earlier, look up Moor, realize that each one of you Moors is 100 bailiffs, and let's get some work done. And stop waiting for Moors to do stuff. Like we said in the class ago, you want a Moorish hospital, build it. Don't tell me about, like, where's the stuff? How about build what you want?
Mm-hmm.
And do it using what was presented. Like, one thing that Moors that are studying have to do is start taking the steps to manifesting things for the Moors. If you have the ability, change these people's concepts by whatever medium you're able to relay the message in or through. You have an obligation as a Moorish American to do that. And we're obligated to help our fellow man. If they don't want the help, that's a whole different thing.
You don't want the responsibility.
Right? Because there's the amount of Moors, like I'm going to tell you, Moors call me from all over the place. You know how many Moors are out there? You know what Moors, I got phones fill up on numbers that I can't even put numbers in the phone. There's so many Moors all over the place. That are waking up. Like I'm saying, in the past 5-6 years, the amount of Moors that have come back to the consciousness of their nationality and their birthrights, and they're out there doing certain things that they're calling with testimonials, like, you know what I mean? This is real.
Mm-hmm.
All those people, that experience is going to change somebody else and let them realize that this is real. But we don't need no 50,000 million people, because every Moor is 100 bailiffs. One Moor is 100 bailiffs. One Moor. So we don't need, you know what I mean, the sea of fezzes and all that stuff. That already went down. Mm-hmm. All 7 bridges across the sky and all that stuff already manifested. What hasn't manifested is the people knowing the truth about their nationality and birthright. So this is rough. You know what I mean? It's an uphill battle. But we're not doing this for us. Just like you know, again, an example that we can use, right? An example that we can use. The same way that we're seeing people, prominent people, you know what I mean? Most Def. Say, forget Most Def. I'm Yasin Bey. He's been in movies and stuff like that. He put Noble Drawley on the back of his album cover and stuff like that. He got Circle 7 ring and all that. We were just watching Islam to Brother Rami Salam El again, who got a song on the new Creed movie coming out with Sylvester Stallone. That's a Moor. That's a Moor is on the soundtrack of the Creed movie that everybody's going to go see.
Mm-hmm.
You think they don't recognize Moors? What do you mean they don't recognize Moors? Watching goddamn NBA crap. They're interviewing Stallone and the brother from the movie. And Stallone's talking about, one of them asked him a question about how come Philadelphia means something to him. He started talking about the Declaration of Independence being signed in Philadelphia, not New York and stuff like that. Stallone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Putting it out there on national TV, basketball stuff where all niggas are watching, and Stallone's letting them know their history. And all they're interested in is ball bouncing and kicks. Right. Getting every version of this guy's shoe and stuff like that. And these people are dropping their birthrights in their face. All these movies coming out. You have Asiatics playing God in movies and all this type of stuff, and people don't want to realize what's going on. The guy named Morgan Freeman is God in a movie. The guy named Morpheus is God in a movie.
Mm-hmm. And Morgan Freeman said he wasn't black.
And he said he wasn't black. And he's not African American.
Straight up, he said that. Like, look.
And you're right. He also said he wasn't African American. He told the guy that was interviewing him. He says, do you have a I think he was the so-called Jew. No, not a Jew. I don't know what it was. I'm European of some type. He says, do you have let's just say it was Jew. Do you have Jewish History Week? And the guy says, no. He says, well, I don't want Black History Week.
Exactly.
You know, because I tell you what, you don't call me black, and I won't call you white or something to that effect.
Yeah.
It's right there. Everybody sees it.
Yep.
But
except the marchers and the picketers. Everybody else sees it except the people who it means to most to see it. Imagine that. The people who don't need to see the UFO, right? Because, you know, when the alien comes off the UFO, it's gonna be beard and locks and stuff like that, you know. But the people who supposed to see that so they can recognize what's going on, they don't want to turn around. They want to keep turning to salt all the time, looking back at Babylon all the time. Babylon's burning, they're looking back, turn to salt. And everybody watching them turn to salt and looking back with them. Want to know why Moors just say, forget it. Let's go do what we're supposed to do. Forget this stuff, because only a handful is going to be saved anyways. 144,000, nothing less than that.
Yeah, actually, you know the science behind 144,000. It's actually coded for the 12 the information imbued in the science of the universe imbued in astrology. When you go 12 times.
Before you go on, may I interject? You said 144,000. That's still a 9.
That's 12 times 12.
Still a 9.
Still a 9, but it's also the 12 times 12 of the of information, the scientific information and universal information based on the solar system that we are in, which 12 times 12 is 144. So you got to have that information.
Uh-huh.
If that's really what it is.
Yeah, there you go.
That's really what it is. But, most of them been Christianized And even though they're carrying a bibliophile text that says it's a book of what is, what was, and what is to come, which means it's forecasting, because it's really an astrology book, elementary one at that. But they don't believe in forecasting, you know what I mean? They call it fortune telling. They don't believe in that. So, you know, they don't see. They don't have eyes to see. So they're not going to make it because they don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't want to go ahead. I know Anna E had something she was about to go in on, and we went somewhere else.
Oh, that's right. And then I'll read the congressional record on.
I think your mom was Rob was gonna say something.
Gotcha.
Let me pull that right now. I did pull it. I have it. The Revolutionary Business. This is from because I think you gave it to me and we posted it up. The Diplomatic Correspondence of the United States, edited under direction of Congress by Francis Wharton, with preliminary index and notes, historical and legal, published in conformity with the Act of Congress of August 13, 1888, Volume 4. Washington Government Printing Office, 1889, checked on May 13, how about that? But actually it's the letter, the observation of Mr. John Adams' letter of July 17, 1780. That was when the Europeans was waiting. They were very arrogant about the fact that they thought they could get a treaty of commerce before they were actually implemented into before they actually received it, they even got their freedom from our cousins, the British Moors, who were very, very mean to them. But, you know, they were asking for a treaty of commerce. And it says, you know, and this is why when people say, oh, well, that there's no treaty of peace. And I even had someone say the treaty of peace was between the Moroccan kingdom and the United States of America, you know, like that, and the kingdom wasn't even there, even though this is before that, because the Treaty of Peace didn't come until after the British Moors, who had the Slavics in slavery, released them, you know, and said that they could have their independence after declaring it. So basically, this letter, you know, it says right in the beginning, point 1, to these Europeans who were being very solicitous and very, really somewhat arrogant, to thinking that they were in like Flynn, if you will, before it was affirmed that they would be or that they are. That is, to be solicitous about a treaty of commerce before peace is established is like being busy about furnishing a house before the foundation is laid. That's point number 1. You know, and then it talks about the situation in which it stands. America stands at the present with regard to England, and, you know, the war and the weakness and all that. But at the end of that document, you had found a page that threw in that proved that the emperor's dominions included Russia. So I think I'm going to, like, before the show is over, the picture that you sent me, Ms., which is awesome, will be on the front page. In that Moors have history in Russia as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
oh.
That's a hot picture. I was just looking at it, but I'm going to add this one to it, too, because it says, we make known by this our President Janice Reitman, we have appointed the Christian Theodebert Calais, who's the one who also translated the treaty, by the way, who is the bearer hereof to officiate as consul for all those nations who have no consul in our dominion.
Mm-hmm.
This is from the emperor. This is from the emperor of Morocco. And he says
right.
Who are, and then he says, and who they are the emperor of Germany, Russia. These are the dominions now. Prussia, Naples, Sardinia, Rome, Tuscany, Genoa, Ragusa, Hamburg, Lubeck, and Danzig, and the States of America. Now, let's clear that up. This is 1779. They had not been formally styled as the United States of America. So this is what we were saying earlier, that loosely they called themselves a lot of things, but until they came into government proper, they came under the nation, they were, the Moorish nation that is, of course, then they were considered sometimes the states of America. But when they say states of America, they are not talking about nationals. So they're talking about these Europeans who were forming states on the American land because they were trying to, get out of their slavery and their control. So that's the statement right there.
Indeed.
Is proof that Russia was in the dominion. And look at this. This is the way you picked up this same type of style of writing from that time. Given the 8th of the moon of Al-Qada, 1193. Now check this out. Here's another proof of the time frame. Again, the 800 years added on the Gregorian calendar, because it says given the 8th of the moon of Al-Qada, 1193, and it says 1st of November, 1779. So there it is. So I wanted to just show that and show that, we're saying it. I'm saying it right now on the line, but if people will go to these documents of American history and the congressional record, it's there. And I wanted to say that we just don't want the responsibility because of the mindset. And you guys talked about the mindset. I think you or Cujo mentioned last night about the mindset. And then I thought about what Prophet Noble Ali said. He said, what did he say? Go back to the mindsets of your ancient foremothers and forefathers. Now, they're the mothers and fathers of civilization and civilization principles. So it all kind of is coming to its head and its proof and its fruition right now. We have to go back to that mindset because he also said, I've come to take you out of your mental slavery. And that's part of it. And part of that, a great part of that we see manifest in all of us and that we are working out of, and we see many still trying to work out of and to identify it, is the mental slavery. And is the part of that mental slavery has them all thinking that this is not the Moroccan dominions. They just don't know that or believe that. But really it's back to the everything else because they just haven't studied to find that out. And I think, like you said, all right, if you don't want your nationality, that's fine. You want to march in the street, that's fine. You're so correct. Soon they're going to start running your behind over because everybody is on a different wavelength, being forced to be forced to make changes. Now, here's the deal. Those who are not grounded in truth, who have not been able to discern between the truth and the falsehood, which is strangely not even important right now. Just go read religious controversy if you think it's not important. But those who are, not grounded with solid information on that solid rock of foundation, they are going to be losing their mind right now. And they may just run their behinds over. Because everybody, this is really, like mentioned earlier, you got to pull from the spirit. Because what's happening in this dimension, physically, people losing their way. They're losing their mind. But it is only because they don't have information that they need to have, that they can have, or if they gather it, they don't have the right concepts to deal with it. And the only reason they don't have the right concepts is because they truly don't know who they are, which brings us back to the Prophet Noble Ali when he said, I have come to teach you to be yourself. Now, we can agree that we're not being who we are, so I would think that if someone came and said, I came to teach you who you are, I would at least, at minimum, investigate and invest in what that is. And then upon doing so, you'll find it all to be true, right, and exact. So this is where we are now, and, you know, we all have to be careful of what we do because, hey, there's a lot of people that are out there pining to maintain some status that cannot be maintained. And a lot of them have not listened. They don't want to make any changes. Now, and I just got to say this, and we can go on with our discussion, but I was just communicating with someone who was a little confused because they wanted to, you know, go forth with making their declaration, name correction, identification, and then they had somebody from one of those temples that naturalized. They didn't tell me this. I just knew this is what's so important. Everything is in language. Everything is in language. I just knew from what they said to me, I knew exactly what group of people who had touched them or talked with them. I knew just by their language of what they said, something to the effect of, well, I'm going to cancel everything because I need to also have the, what does she call it, Hebrew codes. Hebrew codes. I'm like, Hebrew codes? Mosaic code, Hebrew codes. What is that? Yeah. And they said they were confused a little. So I said, you know what? Somebody didn't talk to you from a place where they naturalize people. And I said, and that, you know, and I showed them what naturalization is and how it doesn't apply. I wasn't attacking any person who told her that. I just told her to be very careful because there's people out here who don't know what they're doing or are agents. They either don't know or they do know and they're agents or they just don't study enough. And any one of those three are not good today. So surely enough, they went back and they said, yeah, that's right. That's what, and they gave me the actual appellation of the person. But, it doesn't matter. What matters is knowing the facts and that, surely enough, trying to tell her the natural, this is what it was. They said that what we do, okay, all right, the host, please listen carefully. What we do, this is the power out there. What we do is a quick fix. Ain't that something? What we do is a quick fix. We've been on this air for I don't know how long trying to get people. If this was a quick fix, it would, it wouldn't take people so long to get it, would it? You have to invest in this information and study it. Nothing is a quick fix. But they're saying what we do is a quick fix.
Hold up, though. Hold on. I don't mean to cut you off, cut your wisdom. But you're saying that somebody alleged that what we do, that's on the air right now, is a quick fix.
Yes, sir.
That's the message you're relaying to, right?
Yeah, but the Lodio identification, the absolute Lodio, nothing higher, is a quick fix. And the name correction and the process and notifying these Department of State, not asking them, but notifying as law is notice, notice is law. All of that is a quick fix. Yes, that's right. That's what they're telling people.
Bugged out. That's bugged out because I say this, and I'm speaking from my experience, from standing up for my nationality and birthrights, to the best of my ability, since I've been conscious that when you stand up for your birthright, like for yourself, for your identity, it's not that it's not going to be challenges. Like, if you think that there's not going to be challenges, all right, first and foremost, you got some more studying to do. I say this, when you meet those challenges to the best of your ability, there's nothing quick about it. And it has lifetime, longer-reaching effects,
Well, I'll tell you what. The only thing that's quick, if I can, is that once all of us get this, then it could be over. The bull crap that's going on against us could be over overnight once we get it, though.
Yeah, once we get it and be active with it, you know, it's like, yeah, we got to get it, but also be active with it. You know, that's just what it is. But first and foremost, it takes the comprehension. But, you know, a lot of Moors can attest to this. And you say, well, damn, what's happening? You know, can I get a case reference and all of this? Like, Moors who really go in for their nationality and birthright, for the most part, like, the situation is squashed before it even gets to anything else, you know. I can't speak for every situation, you know, but for the most part, once you make that stand and you continue in your civil life, you know, in full life, not civil lit to mortus, I don't know what it is, but you can see that certain things have a different effect. Like if you were ever to come across a situation like that again, it would be a whole different feel. Like they know they can't just scrape you like the Negro, black, or colored. And as far as a quick fix though, just I definitely don't agree with that in any fashion. Because it's a process, you know. Like people have been in a status, a civil lit or more two status for a while. Once we raise up from that status, you know, there are challenges. You know, like people need to stop playing games. Like these people sitting in these seats are not lineal descendants of foreigners who who basically, you know, flipped the script, took the minds of the people, and are claiming your ancestral estate. Like, knowing that these are invaders and not for nothing. But you can't act like based off of that fact alone, it's not a challenge, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that took place over generations, decades, translated to centuries, and it's nothing easy about it, but it's definitely not a quick fix. And I can't stress enough how many, I'm pretty sure if we calculate all the times that the word study was mentioned on this show, it would definitely exceed at least 50,000. It would have to, you know, and we're talking within the span of 3 years. So the context of what we're saying is study what we're saying. It's nothing quick about it. If you really listen to what we're saying, we give references, so you can go ahead and cross-reference what it is that we're saying. There's references on RVBey publications, and I don't think nowhere does it say that anything is going to be easy. It is for some, for others it's not. It just depends on what you do with your birthright, you know?
Yeah, you know, with that, going back to what you said, you know, and like the prophet said, truth and falsehood is strangely mixed. I just wanted to say what Annie had mentioned, and it just kind of hit me, is that happening now is not unlike what has been happening all along in terms of, I never looked at it. Well, I won't say I never looked at it, but because it's right in front of us now, where when they were over, I think it's Syria, she said, and they were saying, well, you could come in if you're a Christian. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same old story. It's the same old story. So what you would do is you would go to the Circle 7, Holy Quran, chapter 46, and gain understanding of the beginning of Christianity and clearly understand what it is and what it is not, and that this is about Christian powers. And when we say Christian powers, it's not the religion Christian powers, as we think religion is. But it's interesting because now, for them to go over and say that, they're only proving what we know is to be true. You know, that it's all about them coming in and colonizing people. And so, you know, I don't know. All of it is just, it's a little,
if I could add on one thing too, I don't mean to like, you know, take a liberty, but I'd definitely like to add this on because we mentioned study, you know, study well, as Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, and when you have studied well, the next thing to do is study yourself, you know. But this may seem simple, but just for the record, just the etymology of study. It comes from a Latin word, studium, which means a busying oneself about a thing, zeal, study, application to learning. Right, so if you're not applying the knowledge, if you're not studying, you know, this also is inclusive of applying the knowledge, which is emphasized and stressed all throughout thing that we do. You know, it's been emphasized too many times for somebody to say that, you know, we just, oh, it's a quick fix, this, that, and the third. Like, no, listen to what we're saying. Like, listen to what's being said. Listen, and not even that. You know, look at the references that's being given. Prophet Noble Drew Ali was not slacking. He was not. You know, when he stressed this word study 3 times, it was not for nothing. So go ahead. Busying oneself about a thing. Zeal, study, application to learning, from student to busy oneself about, to apply oneself to study. All right, so if you're not applying yourself, you're not studying. It's just no way, because this is the etymology of study. Apply yourself. All right, so if your mind state is not that, it's no different. If I can give an example, it's not a game, but if you take any type of sports team, you have different people in position to play different parts for the benefit of their team. But if you don't apply yourself, emphatically, you could cause the team to be a loser, you know, and that's just basically what it is. So when people say, or look at this like, oh, it's a quick fix, like, no, you have to apply yourself, study, you know what I mean? And see, because once you start studying, there's no more excuses. You feel what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing to look out at outside of self for the condition. You know what I mean? And the change of that condition. So if you're not applying yourself to that with responsibility, like, you know, in the morning when you wake up and you go about your daily affairs, before you do that, the only one that's there to dress you is you. You put your clothes on, you do all of this, right? You apply yourself in preparation for what it is you're about to do. It's the same thing with this information. You know, somebody could give you a shirt. You might not ever wear it. Somebody could give you information. You might not ever wear it. But it depends on you. It's how you feel, what you're doing with what you have. And that's just it. So, again, with the references back to us even mentioning Prophet Noble Drew Ali, if you follow up and you really look at what this man said, which is what the primitive inspiration of what we're bringing and consistently, you know, to share with the family is about. The lesson is very clear, you know. If you're looking for a savior, you have to look within. Name itself. You know, it can't get any more clearer than that. 7, Moorish Holy Quran for the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Chapter 3. If you're looking for a savior, you must look within. If you're looking for a devil, you must look within itself. With that being said, there's a certain responsibility that you have to yourself, that I have to myself, and that we all have to each other, really, you know. And that's just what it is. So we have a certain responsibility, but it's like, you know, you cannot be active in any association by standing around. Like, you can be, you know what I mean? What I mean is, if you're in an active basketball game and you're just standing in the middle of half court all game and you blaming everybody else, you know, don't be mad after you get benched because you're not being active. You're not doing anything, you know, and that's just what it really is. It's nobody else that has to make you vibrate but you. And in the midst of that, Moors are obligated to assist each other for sure, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, if you know, you have to look out for yourself, take care of yourself, you know, and if you don't, like, don't expect anybody else to until you're sure you're doing that. That's just my thing. And with that, you know, I just wanted to say that nobody can blame somebody else for their condition, ultimately, because it's always subject to change. And with that, I yield the floor. Islam.
Islam.
Yeah.
Well, all righty. Let's see. We have 33 minutes left to the live internet broadcast. What that means is, if you're listening via the internet at 11:30, the internet is going to go down. What you need to do is call 347-945-5899. If there are any available lines, you will be able to get in and listen to the last hour. If you're not able to get in, you need to wait until after 12:30. You can download the broadcast in its entirety once it archives, and you can then listen to the last hour. So what we're going to do at this time is we are going to take some questions from our callers. If you have a question, comment that you would like to make, press 1 on your telephone dial, and you will be placed in queue, and we will take the questions in the order that we receive them. So let's see. Our first caller 412-969. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maximum. Islam, caller 412-969.
Islam family.
You have a question?
This is Energy.
Islam.
You have to pause that, Mommy. Up top. Okay, that works. Appreciate the show, as always. I'm one of those people who don't watch the news at all, but I usually get it, as you said, by happenstance. We were out, me and my mom was out recently, late last week, and she had noticed that their banner was at half flag, and she had made mention of what had happened over there in Paris. She was like, and I don't know why they would, bomb Paris. I was like, that's France, though, right? And I giggled because, there's always been an issue there, especially since one of those white stripes represents France on the trading banner that they utilize for this corporation called the United States. But I appreciate the talk tonight, and I'm appreciating the chat feedback that I'm getting in the chat room tonight. I appreciate that. Not the only person talking, I just getting on and saying that. But I do have a quick question. I'm glad I got you on the phone. As I had stated in the chat room, I don't have anything in paper documenting that I'm a Moor because I'm stubborn like that, I guess, because I know who I am, and I don't feel like the paper is making me any more or less of what I am. However, I did get downloaded the Judicial Notice and Proclamation from RVBey publication. I have read through the document, and I agree with everything that's there because of the studying that I have done, and I'm clear on everything here. Now, the part that I'm concerned about is on the final page where it says, Vizier, Minister, Natural Person, and
persona. I'm assuming that I need to send this into RVBey publication to have someone verify or sign off on this for me, because I'm not clear. I do?
You go to the National Identification Card page,
okay,
and you go to Section 13 of that page.
Section 13. Okay.
All the instructions that you need to do
okay.
is right there, and you're pretty much online. It tells you where to send it. You don't send it to
okay.
Well, it tells you where to send it and what you can do.
Okay, because my question, I was concerned about the fact that how do you know I am who I am? Because I remember one of the classes a while back, you know, one of the sisters, I don't know if it was Roz or Anani, was saying that, you know, a European had sent some paperwork in trying to get, you know, nationalized as a Moor or get their identity as Moorish, and it was discovered that they were European descent. And I was just curious because, I mean, I am a Moor, but how do you safeguard against something like that? Because I don't have anything stating that I'm a Moor.
Well, the reason that you're doing the paper, the reason that you're doing that is to put lawful notice, not to ask permission, right?
Yes.
But to bring lawful notice to, for example, you know, we tell you where that is, we tell you that, but is to give lawful notice to, for instance, the Department of State. I'm not talking about like the Secretary of State of the Department of State, not the Secretary of each individual state. Mm-hmm. Because the Secretary of State of the Department of State, the Attorney General of the Department of State, is over all of those other Secretaries of State. Right. So you know, a notice to the agent is notice to the principal, notice to the agent, and notice to the agent is also notice to the principal. But these people are feeling, so you know, like when you ask them for their delegation authority, they don't give it. You don't know who the hell they are, but you know one thing: they're established under the state to operate, right? Right. True. So notice to the principal. So it's really to give notice as to why you're doing it. And I believe strongly, and I think Annie, you would agree, and I think the panel agrees, that because Moors have been giving that notice, for instance, that started when Hillary Clinton was in office. I mean, it may have started before that for some, but, you know, a gush of it, if you will. You're letting them know we're Moors, we're alive, and everything that you read on there, we are aware of. Now, the problem comes in is when someone takes those papers, signs them, does the whole thing, and never even, say, for instance, read them or absorbed what it is that it really means. And that's what has been happening with Moors, because they, in fact, this is a pun on words, but they are, in fact, looking for a quick fix without the responsibility of their position that they take. And so they're looking for someone to fix it. They're looking for someone to fix it for them. Someone to fix. I mean, you know, we like you said, we uplift each other, we help each other, and everything like that. But you know, they'll find those same documents that you just read and never read them. You read them because you're going to be who you are. And see, that's the whole thing. Anything that you write is but a brief. And even what you just read is really a brief. Expresses your position regarding a matter, any matter. It doesn't matter what the matter is. So if someone's going to sign it because it expresses their position, they really, don't you think, ought to know what that is, what the position is.
True. Especially if you're dealing with
and they're signing them without even reading and or absorbing or taking the time and being ready to do so. But you know, that's not, you know, that doesn't change the fact that it is what it is, you know. But as far as safeguarding, one of the things is, and you can't always go by a picture, because it's not that Europeans, and let's get this straight, it's not that modern Europeans cannot be under the Moorish nation. In fact, that's what they're looking to do, is to be under the nation. But because they've been, a lot of them, and I think that we can attest to it too, have been patriotized. When you ask them, hey, this is cool, but what's your nationality? Because there's a slightly different. You can't be an aboriginal and indigenous to the land if you're a modern European. You can't. You already know you can't on boat. So that you are not. So that would be a false statement in that respect. So what's your nationality? And then they'll come back with telling you about who their father is. And we're like, no. What's your mother?
It's your mother.
Because that's not because the father doesn't matter in life, but it doesn't matter in determining nationality. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
It's a national and international fact. So when we say that, then they start, stuttering and stuff because they're no different than we are. Not knowing, because there's a lot of Moors that are patriotized. They infiltrated the temples. They infiltrated, Kuja on this brought that out last night very well. They infiltrated even the Temple of Islam into the Nation of Islam and took the fezzes off because the fez represents the womb. So the infiltration places are the implementation of a non-matriarch, which is what the Moorish nation is, whether you like it or not. That's what it is, in harmony with nature. So the patriarch will infiltrate it, and this is the signs of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, my last question. Now, once I go ahead and put my notices in, condition of the mother is condition of the child, so I don't have to do individual documents for each one of my offspring, correct?
Well, no, not really, because the condition of you is their condition, but see, ultimately that matters most certainly, which is why women have to wake up, because they bring the beings in, both male and female, into play, and if they're in their right place, then the child is automatically, unequivocally, no questions asked, in their right place as well from the door, which is what the whole movement is all about, putting people in the proper person. That's it, and that's all. The
reason why I asked this is because I had an encounter with a superintendent of one of the public schools that my children attend, and I had made the statement to him, if I need to submit a notice in their so-called file stating opposition, I'll do so. And he was like, oh, no, you don't need to do that. I'm like, no, to myself, that's exactly what I need to do. So it's on the record, so they can't be saying, well, we didn't know or anything like that. He claimed to know and understand, but I'm not really willing to rely on that. I'd rather have it in writing.
Well, I mean, not to put your business out there, but what was the subject matter that was being discussed? Because there's
last Monday, my daughter was assaulted on their school bus, and because their business policy is about, one of their policies is safety, and they obviously have negated or neglected to keep her safe, because she was assaulted, and she has been dealing with a couple of different instances while dealing with this company called, the public school. Anyway, I'm not going to say the name. But anyway, so I was addressing that. However, another incident came up with my youngest one that's in the same so-called school. He was suspended for playing with another child's red water gun on the school bus. And I was made aware of that, and I thought I was getting a call about the incident that happened on Monday, because they claimed they were going to pull the tapes, and I would come in and be able to see the tapes, because, like I said, I'm ready to sue everybody involved for, once of all, breach of contract. You didn't keep her safe, and you're not keeping her safe. It's a long story, but nonetheless, I was called in because he got suspended for the one day, and that's how I got to have this sit down with the so-called superintendent. And as I told him, we're here, you call this meeting for that matter, but I'm here to discuss the assault, because that's pressing. My 6-year-old playing with somebody else's toy on the school bus. Yes, it was a toy gun. Yes, I've read your policy. Yes, I've read the state's code. And I'm also aware of what you could have done and what but he just did that, and we discussed my daughter's situation. I put everything on tape. So I was just curious on, that's why I asked about the condition of the mother is the condition of the child. And when I had said to him that I would, make a notice to put in their records that they have, because I've already told them that they are not the so-called corporate fiction. They cannot use that. And I tried to get my children to, agree to be that. They're not allowed to put their appellations at the top where it says name, but you can mark your paper somewhere, letting it be known as your paper. And I've had staff members attempt to give my daughter a hard time concerning that, and I brought that up to him. He said he'll address that as well. I'm just doing the best that I can with the knowledge that I have going forward, standing on who I am, what I am, and bottom line is, this is my house. And you're not going to keep telling me what I can do in my house. You're a business. You're offering services to help educate my offspring. Help. You're not doing it for me. I know I can do that myself. I've already done that. However, you're helping me do this. You are a business, and therefore you are liable on all counts. Now, me knowing that, like within the document was the rights of indigenous people, we are not forced to simulate any of this madness, and you're not going to. And that's why I like this judicial proclamation, because it says the same thing in it. Well, it mentions the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People, the rights of the child, all the different contracts throughout the world that all the nations are abiding by. And I'm just basically wondering if that was something that I needed to do. And then when he said no, that made me feel like, yeah, that's exactly what needs to be done. So they cannot say that they didn't know. Now, even when I went and enrolled them, I did a whole lot of scratching out on that application because, once again, there's no name. Once again, I'm not registering anything. So I had to cross off a lot of stuff, when it got raced on. I put Moor, made my own box, all these types of things. So they're very clear on where I'm coming from, but I still feel I need to put it in writing.
My
own documentation for them.
All right. I was just curious, but thank you so much.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was nothing big.
And where it says name, just teach them to scratch that out and say appellation.
Yeah, I did.
I
believe that's what you did.
Oh I have all kinds of marks all over that little application. I don't even fall for that anymore. None of it.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
One thing to put out there as well. One of the Moors out here, what he did was when he enrolled the children into the school, at that time he met with the principal that, same thing, children are wards of the crown, et cetera, et cetera. If anything is happening, about to happen, going to happen, you're going to be giving them homework, you're going to be doing whatever, make sure you call me first before you do anything.
Okay. Well, that's the thing. This principal here, I did have a sit down with the brother at the time that was the principal. He was removed 2 weeks ago because they've been having issues. Now, mind you, this is an elementary school. They've had issues with 9 staff members that were attacked by students. So if you can't keep your own staff safe from these children, how safe is my child up in your establishment? I'm not confident at all.
No, but remember, if we lack confidence in the presenter, then we shouldn't be considering their presentation.
Okay, this is true.
Right.
I mean, you're right. And I feel some kind of way that they're in public school, knowing that I've already did it. My oldest is 18, and he's bright as all outdoors. You know, and the fact that I've
what he's saying too is this: looking at what they're teaching. Well, I guess like he said, whatever you do, contact me first. We already know that when you compare, for instance, any previous education, like the prophet said, get a good European education, because he knew that once we would really study that, we would realize that it was our education that we were giving them anyway. And so then when we look at that, and we can even compare it with the 1895 public school test for 8th graders, and we know good and well that, we shouldn't have a lot of confidence. I mean, that they're not really teaching, and then we have to look at what they're really teaching and how they're going to use that institution to truly screw up like some places here now, they're teaching the children to print their name in all caps. Now, it's their curriculum. It's not our curriculum. And then a lot of people say, well, it's public school. But really, is it public school for who? Because, to teach a child to write in all caps is automatically going along with their program.
It's grammatically incorrect.
Well, we know it's grammatically incorrect, but they'll just make up reasons. See, they're doing a reverse education thing, kind of, sort of, and using excuses. Like, they'll make up things to say, well, all the children are going to wear uniforms, so no one has to, laugh at another because they can't afford the designer stuff. And then pretty soon, as Anna Ede had pointed out, I don't know what it was Anna Ede did, they had the county's name on something, on the school uniforms. They had
on their uniform there, because a lot of people are waking up.
Yep.
They are a lot of people are waking up, and they're coming in, and when they fill out these applications in these institutions they call school, they're reserving their rights.
Oh,
so
definitely.
Their way of circumventing that is to brand. It's another brand. They're branding the children, because now the children are being compelled to wear these uniforms, and the uniforms mark them as property of the county.
Okay, this is how I get around that. I'm a seamstress designer, so I make their clothes. I just follow their color scheme. That's it.
The point we're saying is that a lot of the publics implemented wearing
uniforms
only.
Yes, they just went to that this year. Last year, my daughter attended about 2-3 months last year when we came over into this area. And now last year at the end of the so-called school year, they implemented a uniform situation. And therefore, like I said, as long as I follow the color scheme, you can't say she can't wear this or he can't wear this. It's in your color scheme. If it doesn't have any insignias on it, it's the dark blue, the khaki, the light blue, the white. So, yeah, whatever. And they still get to wear, well, I let them wear just regular khaki pants and, shirts, but if I felt like getting real creative with it, I can. And she has to wrap her head up on Friday because I do allow her to go, even though I don't have to send them on a holy day. But I still do because she's having a hard time. The 6-year-old, he's really, really enjoying his experience. And that was my biggest thing, just allowing them to have their experiences. I already know that they're trying to train them for basically the prison system because they're dressing, like you said, in uniforms, walk single file, and just all these weird things. Like you said, learning how to print your nomen in all caps, that's just weird. They're not doing it here, but I did read that somewhere, and I just thought...
Eventually, the point being made is, eventually that's what they'll walk into because we keep leaving our children. And I know we all have done it, and we have to, and nobody's, making any finger pointing, but ultimately, it's just as the prophet said, we have to have our own schools. And, some people think, how are we going to do that? But really, we didn't really have schools like that. We had specialized temples, because when someone hears a temple, the first thing they think is a dogmatic religion. But Philadelphia is a prime example. All of the buildings, and anywhere really where they are presently churches, mostly churches, Catholic churches, and they're old Moorish buildings. And so the inclination of your child, you would send them to that particular temple or institution of learning that specialized in what they were about. And that's why there's so many of them sprinkled all over in Philadelphia. Oh, my God, it's crazy. And New York and other places. And because that's what we did.
Well, that's what me and my mom is working on, and that's the beautiful part.
Thing. It wasn't a cookie-cutter thing because the basics and the fundamentals were already taught at home, in the womb, and etc.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate you taking my call.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much for the call. It's now.
Islam.
Oh.
All right. Our next caller 318210. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation and Northwest of Mexico. Caller 318210. All righty. I guess they didn't want to ask a question. Caller caller 513295. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation, Northwest of Mexico. Islam.
Islam. This is Alicia L. Islam family.
Islam.
Islam. Hey, listen, great show. I just wanted to chime in and really kind of take it back to what Sister Annie E. originally was talking about when she first opened up. And that was just kind of talking about how some of these modern Europeans are going over, and to the Islamic, quote-unquote, territories and dressing up and tending and, basically disguising themselves so that the people can have these fears that they've always done. And the first thing I thought about as she was speaking about it was the Boston Tea Party, because it had been something I had been thinking about for a while. So when she brought that up, the first thing I started doing was just kind of going in and looking into that, and was reading where they were talking about how the Englishmen, because that's what they called them, the Englishmen were smearing soot and red clay on their body so that they can disguise themselves to look like the natives. And someone asked the question, like, well, why were they doing it? And it was just for the whole purpose of the same reason why they do everything. They go in disguise so that they won't get the retribution. And so no one will be looking at them. They'll be looking somewhere else. It's those smoke and scream. So we just have to know that history still, it repeats itself. And like you said, if you study, use your holistic thought process. Don't leave anything out. Don't think fragmented the way you've been taught in school. Use your holistic thought process, and things will start clicking. But that was one of the first things I did think about. Do you see any similarities there with the Boston Tea Party and kind of the same things that they're doing today? Do you all see any similarities?
Well,
go ahead.
Well, with the Boston Tea Party, a lot of people, the information regarding the whole Boston Tea Party is very, very, it's correct. The only thing that is not correct is who the players were. See, around the time of the Boston Tea Parties, you had the Moors of Great Britain, who pretty much occupied the South, or the southern portion of the United States. And then you had the Moors of Al-Marak, which is this land here, this land being northwest Africa. They pretty much occupied the north. And so when they talk about the Civil War, they're talking about the family fighting.
Right.
It was because at that time, the modern Europeans were the slaves, because slave comes from Slavic. And slaves in Slavic is referring to the serfs, which came over on the Mayflower and the Santa Maria with Christopher Columbus. And in history, they tell us that they were taken out of the prisons of Great Britain to come over here and work in the companies that were established. And those companies that were initially established were what they today refer to as the 13 colonies, but they all received their charters to form a company from George II or George I of Great Britain. So when you start talking about the Tea Party, you have to look at what was going on. See, because in the Treaty of Verona, it's documented that certain Moors never, ever, ever wanted these modern Europeans to be able to be free, to even be looked at as anything but fixtures, to be in order for them to be even looked at as anything other than fixtures, they would have to be elevated to a status of human or some kind of human, which is why when they landed on the moon, they said this is one small step for man and I think something like a big step for mankind. They're talking about the modern Europeans. There's a distinction there. But back when the tea fights were going on, that was between the Moors of Morocco and the Moors of Great Britain, both melanated people. And here's how you know, because in the Tea Party fight, they dressed up because the Moors of Great Britain dressed differently than the Moors over here. So they tell you in the history that they dressed up like the Moors over here and was throwing the tea over the sea. And today, we know that as like when one gang member goes into another area disguised as another gang, and they beat up or kill somebody, and modern Europeans do that all the time. So that's what we did. Now, being that the modern Europeans were the slaves, you think they were not paying attention to our strategy?
That's right.
So today they use the same strategy. Exactly. Today they use the same strategy against us, and because we don't know our history, we look back at the history. The players are saying the only thing that has changed is their complexion, and of course the retelling of the story. So today's Asiatic Moors look back on the history as told by employees of the company, and they think, oh, that wasn't us, the melanated people, that was the pale-faced modern Europeans, when in fact it could never have been the pale-faced modern Europeans. They tell you in the Declaration of Independence when they came here, what their status was when they came here, all right? And then when you read in the congressional records, they had absolutely no power until the Civil War period. And the only reason that they received even a semblance of power is because we was busy fighting each other for trivial things, the same as we do today. Nothing has changed. We still haven't learned our lessons. We are still fighting each other. Meanwhile, these modern Europeans is living like fat cats off of our ignorance, simply because we don't want to honor our mothers and fathers. How do we honor our mothers and fathers? By going back to their mindset and taking on the things that they have done. They did. That is still in us to do right now. But we're so caught up with this modern European mindset, which, and it's not even their mindset anymore because they're throwing it away.
Yeah.
We've been mentally conditioned to believe that we got to gather all these Federal Reserve notes, and we will gather those Federal Reserve notes at the expense of our family members, as long as we gather them. It doesn't matter. And see, that was never our history. And this is why people like Prophet Noble Drew Ali comes along and he says, look, you are rich. He said, look, there will come a day when you see $20 bill on the ground and you will step over it. That is the day when you realize that, look, this land is free for everybody, but especially the melanated people, because this is your inheritance. Inheritance cannot be bought, sold, or transferred. And we, out of the kindness of our hearts, we always open it up to, we opened it up here on this land to the modern Europeans, which goes against the grain of the other half of the family, which is why we catch hell today. Because we tried to assist these modern Europeans. That's documented. We never hated them. And many of us, if we really understand what our role in their existence is, we can't hate them even now. What we need to do is, this is why the prophet said we need to learn to love instead of hate. But here's the kicker. Many of us we read that and we think he's talking about go and love your brothers and the modern Europeans, and he is. But you can't love nobody else until you first love yourself. And many of us are secretly harboring hate for ourselves that we need to acknowledge and come to grips with, because you can't love anybody else until you first love yourself. And you always know where people are in their self-love by the way they treat themselves. If you watch a lot of people, you will see they are in self-destruct mode. They're functioning in some sort of excess. Some of it is obvious and some of it is not. However, the bottom line is, many of us, we have to first learn to love ourselves. And that's the first rule. The prophet said, study, study, study. And then he said, if you were done studying and you asked me what to study next, I would say study yourself, because it's all about you. We can talk about nationality. We can talk about birthright. We can talk about your inheritance. We can talk about how everything is supposed to be free. All of these are precursors, because if you can get your mentality, your mind together just a little bit, it will springboard you into another plane where you will then be able to manifest your world, which is what the prophet demonstrated before he passed on. And he left us a map on how to do that. But we can't do that until we first learn to discipline ourselves. So all of this studying and learning our history and tapping back into our ancient foremothers and forefathers and go back to the mindset of your foremothers and your forefathers and study the science, all of this is just to help us get back into ourselves, internalize instead of externalize, so that we can then go to the next step, which is manifesting exactly what you are. Because let me tell you, if we was to say, okay, I want to be able to manifest right now, and that was granted, we would be manifesting the same crap we're manifesting right now because we haven't overcome our fears at all. See, all of this is internal. Everybody want to look outside of themselves when everything is internal. You know, in the movie The Matrix, he said, I can show you the door, but you got to go through it. Many of us go to that door every single day, because every single day you go to sleep, you go through that, you go to that door, but you can never pass through it because you're afraid. And we have so many fears that we have to deal with, and it's internal. That's why this is a personal transformation. And there ain't nobody going to come and save you from it but yourself. And and it's a bitter pill, but that's the only pill there is. Can nobody say, if I can take a chip out of my head and plug it into your head and upload it so that you can do what if you would know what I know, I would do it. But we can't do that. We got to go back to old-fashioned route, which means we got to study, we got to meditate, we got to contemplate, we got to take information, and we got to digest it, and we got to be slow to move until we have done enough studying and we get enough information into our cranium that sticks and stays. And if you're on YouTube watching YouTube videos or DVDs, that ain't, you need to open up a book, you need to take out a pad and a pencil, you need to jot down some notes, you need to go look up words, because that's going to stick and stay. And that's what we need. We need our family, each and every one of them, to transform, but it's a personal thing. It's an individual thing, and can't nobody come along and do it for you. So I know I said all that to say. A lot of what is going on. It's just a repeat, and you know, but it all happens for an exact purpose, and that purpose is to wake us up. Because like the prophet said, we are hard-hearted people who don't do nothing except at the point of a sword. And that's also why he said, you know, we're going to be forced to make change. we are so in the midst of that right now.
We are, whether we want to or not. That's true.
Yeah.
But I was just bringing it up because, like I said, I just thought that it's kind of like the same because they're still dressing up, so that, you know, the wars can continue and because they know that the people aren't paying attention and that we are in conflict, that we won't be using our brains properly to assess information the way that we should, and we'll just go on an attack or, you know, have this feeling that you know, if they bomb someone or that they're justified or whatever the case may be. But I just thought about how it kind of correlated, just for me anyway, just in terms of them dressing up, pretending to be American, just so that the war can continue to rage on, and the people, you know, we can further self-destruct. And they played a role in that as well, just trying to help egg that on, if you will. We were already in turmoil, and then because we fell asleep and we allowed someone else to come in and egg it on, we just didn't pay attention. Maybe we did or did not, but I think that some of them were maybe prosecutors. I looked into it. I didn't look much into it, but I was just kind of looking at that. And then one other thing is, if I may move on, I wanted to address just the energy just very quickly in terms of like the school. Another thing to do also, you know, just maybe if you want to look into it, you can move just letting them know that it is your religion, and they won't really step on that. You understand? So when you move that way, they will not question it. They know not to question it. So, again, it's just using keywords when you're dealing with these institutions. And another thing that kind of came to me with looking into this, because my son, he wants to go back just because, you know, he's been used to going, took him and my daughter out to homeschool them. But one of the things I want him to understand is that when you go in, this is a contract between one of the people and a company, and that we don't want to change our status by being a student, but this is a business contract, and they offer a service, which is maybe to help you with some math, some English, some reading, whatever the case may be, to assist you, but you are not a student, because once you do that, you fall under their jurisdiction. And I was looking at a few cases where they were saying that students had a limited First Amendment, and I was like, how could that be when your amendment is not, when that's unlimited? That's just, that right is unlimited. You cannot put a limit on that, because even when they come down, they said that anything that we haven't even mentioned in this Constitution doesn't mean that it's enumerated. You know, if it hasn't been enumerated, doesn't mean that it's not there, you know, that right. And so the thing that jumped out at me is that they kept using the word student. So you want to make sure that you read those contracts. You want to make sure that, I mean, you can do all the scratching out you want, but and make sure you reserve your rights, and make sure you also still move in that manner, because sometimes we say one thing and then we do another, and they pay attention to that. And so if you move the way that they, you know, because they're listening to you, but they're watching how you move, and if you move that way like you're under their jurisdiction, they're going to treat you that way. And just make sure you pay attention to some of those contracts and continue to teach your children to even read those contracts, because my son and I looked at one, and it said that he agreed to be there every day, all day. And I told him, I said, what does every day mean? He said, 7 days a week. I said, do you agree to be there 7 days a week? He said, no, ma'am. I said, well, then you cross that out. And you write. And then the other one said, I agree to be here all day, every day. I said, what does that mean? He said, 24 hours a day, 365 days, or 364 days a year. I said, do you agree to do that? He said, no. And when you sign these contracts, these are some of the vague terms that they use, so pay attention to even some of those student, parent, teacher contracts, because they will lock you up every which way that they can. And remember to always reserve your rights. But that's not just for Sister Energy, but that's for all the sisters, our mothers, or, you know, who's out here dealing with these constructs. Just keep in mind that even the school itself is a business, and they're located, they have a head at the United States Department of Education, and they have to answer to them as well, and whoever it is over that state. So you just follow that chain of command, and you make your movements wherever you have to do, especially when we're talking about your rights, because no business, hospital, school, none of them can violate your rights. Islam.
Islam. All right. Well, sister, thank you so much for your call.
Thank you. Islam.
All right. Peace and love.
Live.
All right, we've got our next caller, caller 901-734. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation in Northwest Mexico.
Islam.
Islam?
Yes, it's Tino out of. Yes, Islam. It's Tino out of Northwest Maxima, Chevy County Corporation, Memphis Corporation. And I called a couple of weeks ago. This is my second time calling. I really appreciate the show every Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'm sort of like a newborn baby with this, trying to pick up the sounds and the words and to learn the new, to truly know who I am. I know who I am, but my question is, are there any Moors in the Memphis Corporation area that I can, associate with?
Yes, there is.
Mm-hmm.
Yourself.
If you're the only one, be the only one. But I know, just look. Well, that's the prophet said. He said, if you find that you're the only one, you just have to be the only one. But what you're looking at is what you might be referring to as networking. And if you're in or near the Memphis territory, I mean, I don't know if a directory of kind, there's so many more doing things all over. I mean, I don't know how do we, not being in or near Memphis, how do you know where to tell somebody to go to for other Moors, to find other Moors? Or do you? Are you there?
You could try.
Wait. Are you there still? Hold on a minute. All right. Yeah, he's still there. Islam, brother, you still there?
Yes.
No,
yes,
I'm saying to you, how do we tell him how do you tell anyone where to go to find other Moors in the territory or geographical area in which they're already in? Because I know there's a lot of other Moors in near that area.
Okay, I guess I'd just check the events that, if they sometimes Louis Farrakhan come to Memphis and I see some Moors with the feds and, I'm just trying to find, try to network.
Well,
but,
I mean, I don't have nothing against Louis Farrakhan, but we just talked about the fact that I don't know how that's connected. Not really, because the Nation of Islam originally was the Temple of Islam, and Elijah Muhammad used to say so-called Negro because he was from the teachings of what we're dealing with now, but now they don't really wear the fez, and they don't call themselves so-called Negroes. They call themselves Black Muslims and the Nation of Islam, but yet they don't say what the nation is, what their nationality is. So I'm not sure if you just knew coming in, whether you want to make you need to have the clear observation that that's not. Those are Moors because we're just unconscious or agents or whatever we are, but they're not really dealing with the consciousness that I think you're looking for, which really is within.
He dropped off.
All right.
Okay. Well, he's going to just have to wait and get the last hour. But we have another caller, caller 901-730. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maxim.
Islam.
Islam.
This is RVBey at Northwest Maxim, calling from the Chicacha, Bluff City, corporate Memphis. I was just listening to the brother from the 734. So I'm 730. So we are close.
He dropped off just now, but that doesn't. I don't know if he can hear you or not. Maybe he can email you and you can email him or send him the number.
Sure.
I have this caller's number, but I don't have the caller's number that just dropped. He dropped before I could jot it down. So what we'll do is, if he should happen to call back next week, or if you should happen to listen to this broadcast and send an email to MHHS-Eyes Wide Open, maybe we can hook you guys. You guys can link up.
Well, you know what you should do? You should put a notation on the brother speaking now that if anyone does call in the message area, just for future reference.
I already jotted. I just jotted it down. So.
All right.
Okay. Well, I am a youth as well. First, let me give proper honors to the prophet, and to the mothers and the sons on the planet, the Moors, and that would be just fine. I received my judicial notice 11/11/2014, and I just want to add that for Miz and Cujo on the show last night with the number 9, and I actually did that on purpose, and I had no problem getting it back expediently, and everything I've done. The last order I done for books from you guys, it was 9 books, and they came right on time, But I just wanted to express some of my experience as being a declared Moor here. It's been a wonderful experience. It's absolutely the best thing that has ever happened to me. I'm more mature in age, coming among this information, what a lot of people would consider late in life, but, that's whatever your judgment is, all about that. But I was sitting here listening to the show one night, and someone knocked at the door. That was unusual. About 9, I guess it was. And it was a mercenary, policy enforcer, posing as a mail carrier. And he had a mail carrier.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a summons from a collection agency. And I'm like, summons? Ain't nobody around here got that kind of power. And I looked at it. I said, that's cute. It was like a little toy, a little computer manufactured deal that's supposed to look like legal paper. And I told him, I said, now, I spoke with these people, man. I told them, this is not me. Now, I'm telling you, this is not me. Do you want to be a party to this? He stepped back, jotted down some notes. Sorry for bothering you. I never heard from him again. That's been months ago. I also had a summons for jury duty. Got 10 days to reply and all this and all that. And I know my paperwork is supposed to exceed me. And, this is some studious brothers here in this part of Northwest Mexico. I got a few numbers, but I don't bother them. I don't call them. I don't, one brother told me, I ain't telling you nothing, when I first started studying. And I had to keep from laughing because I ain't going to let you tell me nothing. I might listen to what you say, but trust, I'm going to research it. And so I didn't get a chance to send a affidavit of jurisdiction or any kind of affidavit or any kind of letter or nothing. I didn't call or nothing. I went down there that day. And when everybody's supposed to be choosing their date when they want to do what they want to do or whatever. And I did a little research on it. I said, well, what qualifies you for jury duty? Okay, addresses, zip codes, and things of that nature that ties you to the state or the city or wherever. And I'm like, no, I'm not under that qualification or jurisdiction. So they have a paper with all the information that they have, who you're supposed to be. And on the back of there, in the corrections, then you put them on there. So I scratched out name. I put my appellation. It asked for my address. I put my in care of in parentheses with the city and the zip code and all this stuff. And I stepped up to the lady and I told her that that's not me. This is who I am. And I'm not a citizen or a member of this state. She looked up at me and she wrote DQ'd on the back of it. I should have got a copy of it, but it's been amazing to me. And I've had some run-ins with mercenaries, not traveling, but a few instances, and I don't give them a history lesson. I just tell them what it is. And they bag up, and it's usually an elder highwayman who knows what I'm saying. Because the young brother wanted to search me, and I said, are you sure or a surety? And the elder looked at me and he smiled. He said, come on. And I apologize. We don't mean to give you a hard time. I'm not saying that I carry a certain energy. I'm humble enough to know that I got a lot of growing to do. This mental conditioning that I have is very deep and dark. So I'm working. I'm studying and I'm working. And
what did you say you said to him? Are you sure or on a surety?
Yeah. Are you sure or are you a surety? Yeah.
I like that.
And the elder, he apologized to me. We don't mean to give you no hard time. And he laughed and smiled and all that. And I just went on by my business. And everybody else just looking and, well, why they ain't search him? Well, I just keep it moving. And it's just been, time after time, it's just been a wonderful experience. And is I guess I'm a Sagittarius, and that fire is really a ether, because I know I have embodied this by listening to you guys for years and studying and listening to the Grand Sheik Cujo. I'm coming with some donations, Cujo, because he does excellent work to help you with the mindset that you need. And I have 2 offspring that's about to graduate, and I'm finna get ready to have to get into something now because the youngest, they're twins, and the youngest twin, he had a certificate from Barack Obama, Excellence in Science, in the 6th grade, and he has a nomination now for the National Academy of Future Physicians and Medical Science Award of Excellence. And he wants to be a heart surgeon. That's what he want to do. And I can understand the college experience, but I really try to get him to understand exactly what you're going into, So when you recognize what, I've been trying to tell you, don't get mad, So the experience, okay, son, I'm with you. I'm with you. Whatever you want to do, I got your back, 1,000. So I am. We're about to get into correcting the appellation. All the things that the parents have to do to go through with dealing with so-called high learning. I'm gonna try to go in correct. And he's looking at a full ride. They want to give him a full ride scholarship. So. You don't know what do you have to give up for that. But I'm convinced that you ain't got to give up nothing, especially not your birthright.
Well, you don't.
Right, okay.
You don't. A lot of things that are available, they are available to the Aboriginal indigenous people of this land. Unfortunately, the majority of Aboriginal indigenous people of this land think that they're Negro-colored, Black, African, African-American, and see, certain things are available to people who classify themselves as that. But if you're indigenous, Aboriginal indigenous, look, I've been reading the whole Social Security Act, and people who classify themselves as Negro, colored, Black, African, African American, you might get some privileges. But if you declare your nationality, they have to give you this finance because it is because of your head count that they receive the federal funding, and that's in the Act. That's in the Act. And this Act also covers things like AFDC, food stamps, workman's comp, unemployment, all of that finance that comes down from the international community, because we are an international people, even if we don't know it. We are an international people because we are tied to the land by blood, that's a historical record. We are tied to the land by blood, and this is why people get kind of mixed up when they hear the word sovereign and they don't understand what it means. They don't know that sovereign is just simply asking, okay, how are you tied to the land? I'm tied by blood. My ancestors are the original people here on this land. That's documented historical evidence of that, reference and such. So everything for the Aboriginal indigenous being who has declared their nationality, and that nationality being more American national, everything that they can give, they have to give. I was talking to a brother the other day, and he said his father went and applied for certain things, and on the state level, they tried to deny him and of course on the county level, because usually not the state, but it's those agencies working as contractors for the state. They tried to deny him, and he went right up to the feds. The feds came and slammed and said, you are going to give them everything that they asked for because they get that finance because he exists.
That's right. They're not there for you.
He got everything he asked for, everything, and they didn't like to give it up, but they had no choice. And see, a lot of our people, because we don't understand who we are, we think that we're going and asking people when in fact these corporations are there simply to administer, and they're supposed to get maybe 2 to 6% for administering it, but we're supposed to get 96 to 98% just because we live and breathe. But they steal, and see, crooks will steal if they know you don't know how to count.
I agree. Yeah, they're not there for you. They're there because of you.
Absolutely.
No.
That's absolutely correct. There's so much that all of these corporations that have these little qualification lists coming up. Are you this? Do you have that? Is this with you? Do you have all of that stuff? Is absolutely unconstitutional, but they count. They bank that we will never go and research the original document and see what exactly they are supposed to be doing, and absolutely what they cannot do. They count on us never going and doing the research. Never. And we don't.
Right.
And this is so your child, I'm telling you that they have all the finance they need to go through and get whatever education they're looking for. However, they need to know that they're studying not to exclude the natural science, because I can tell you my dad had heart surgery, and you know, and he was able, and he survived it. He was actually the guinea pig, believe it or not. What they did to him first. They've never done it before, and he survived it. I think it's kind of ironic that they never did it before. They didn't know if it was going to work, but he paid through the nose for it. But here's the thing: some of the drugs, the chemicals, compounds that they have him taking to maintain, he could get those same things if he was to eat certain fruits.
I agree.
So now, you know, and also, you know, the hard thing, really, these institutions they call hospitals, they're not even supposed to exist. They only exist because we've become so lazy. And but we can begin to turn it around. So, for example, your son, if he wants to be a heart surgeon, just for example, he know that he's going to be repairing hearts for people who, by their eating habits, and their lifestyle, their hearts have been damaged. Those people, if they truly want to change, then they're going to have to change their diet, the way they, you know, make choices. And for our people especially, it's so imperative that with the heart surgery comes true teaching about herbs and vitamins, herbs, fruits, vegetables, the proper foods that we are supposed to be consuming that's conducive to maintenance of our bodies. He might want to also incorporate that in his, if it's possible, you know, in his learning, because that's really going to help the family.
Okay.
You know,
well,
really
I've expressed some of that to him. And, you know, he's driven on opening the hospital, so maybe we can head about the Moors.
Institutions of healing. We need institutions of healing.
It's our time.
And our healing is pretty much more energy-wise than, you know, cutting and stitching-wise. So tell him to go and look up the word hospital. Right, Ms.? Go look up the word hospital, and he might want to change that to, you know, healing something healing.
Healing center, okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Because that's definitely where it starts at with the Christian administration, you know, and it's called the House for Strangers, but again, you know, we're not strangers on our own land. We've always been inclined in dealing with being medicine men, medicine women, natural healers, etc. Like you were saying, if we could get in there and make it right, then all is well. It's definitely serious. You know. Also, you know, it's a lot connected with the history of that hospital itself. But again, you know, the more conscious Moors that are involved, I think the better results could possibly be, you know. That might be the one institution to make history, you know what I'm saying? Because it's more than, you know what I mean? And I know, but I trust the best, you know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, well, I'll always love listening to the show, Anna Eid and Mother Roz. I called you guys Straight Lace and No Chase. Followed up by the reference man, Ms. Raheem.
I was on mute, but I was laughing. Straight lace and no chase.
No chase. And the reference man, Ms. Raheem, and the one who is Cujo, who is strapping Nationality to their back like a suicide bomb. I love y'all, family.
Hey, peace and love.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
All right. Peace and love.
Thank you.
Oh, that's cool. All right. This is our last caller. Unless somebody else presses 1, caller 347-860. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest New Mexico.
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Rob Royal, Dunn, Northwest Maxim, Islam, family.
Islam.
I tell you, I just adore the vibration and frequencies I get when I'm in this forum. It's no place else. It's no place else. And the other night when y'all were going in on the number 9, I thought that was fantastic. And I had such a hard time hearing what Kujoel was actually saying with those 2 words. And then when it hit me, it was like a flood of light, picture mindset. And then everything that y'all discussed tonight had to touch on that same thing. And, so when Roz was speaking about the individual that right away she got the picture mindset of where this individual got their training or what level of the picture mindset that individual had, showing all the background and the couple of the callers, their situations and their more developed picture mindsets, it just comes through. Especially the last call, I thought that was fantastic. The things that he was sharing in terms of what he was doing and how he done it, and Mizrael, I thank you, for that definition for study and the etymology on it. Because, that's something I had always carried, that if I can't apply it, what's the use? And when we talk about our documenting this declaration of our nationality and so forth, I bet you 1,000 to 1 that half of those that probably hold the colonial ID have not even realized how much of volumes of books that one little card consists of, and how much study they need to go into just that card alone.
Word.
To apply it, and how much power that application is once they have gotten it. And see, that's where we're talking about that developed picture mindset. So that's awesome. And so, we can't thank you guys enough. We cannot. And I was just hoping that I could put about 4 things on the table if you feel that it's something that could help clear some of the family members thinking up about them. I would appreciate it being addressed a bit. The one thing was, we hear a lot of more speaking about the prophet's statements concerning the Heliobibliothek, and I don't think that anyone really got the full truth and significance of what those statements really mean in reference to keeping it and using it and how. And number 2, I was wondering if you could shed some light on the relationship of the Republic and the Buddhist Moors, if in fact there is one, So
what
that,
Moors?
I mean,
the what Moors? The Republican, what kind of Moors did you say?
I said brutish.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the
and
British.
No, maybe that's not the right term for them.
No. You mean the British? Yeah.
I said brutish though.
Well, Brutish. Yeah, they were real brute. They were real mean. But when you talk English law and you're talking American law, that's interesting you brought that up because a lot of Moors today, they get it confused. They'll write written and say things and that has to do with English law and not American law.
All right. Now, before you actually go in, I just want to lay two more things up there to see if, these things are just worth going in. I haven't seen these documents yet, but I've heard various forums read from them concerning some type of U.S. court individuals filing something with the UN Security Council claiming the abandonment of the estate and they not knowing the heirs or anything, almost like a process of an extended usurpation over here. And I find it almost comical because it's like criminals giving you all the evidence you need to just lock them up, and I don't see why they didn't get locked up and picked up when they filed them. So I do have to go and see those documents and find out what idiots put their signatures on them.
Right, because you're talking about supposedly Moors did that, right?
Well, again, this is like the whole United States of America incorporated a certain portion of them trying to get from under this justice that's rolling now because they're bankrupt and so forth, and they trying to act like there's no real Moors that have stepped up and presented themselves so that they don't think there's any that exist and that therefore they should, as whatever, take a...
But that's always been their goal. That's always been their goal, to supplant themselves as the original indigenous Americans. That's always been their goal. So for them to say that the land is abandoned, they're almost right. Because really what they're saying is, and that's why the prophet said, wake up, wake up, wake up, because not only is that happening, you said that because they're bankrupt, they've been bankrupt for a long time, but also because their father, the Pope, has actually stepped off on them and said, y'all forgot y'all immigrant. And that happened, last month when he came here. So now they're out there. But the real deal is that it appears abandoned, although you have to look up the word abandon. The only reason why Moors can't really abandon, well, first of all, they need to declare their nationality and declare their state. They really do. Now is the time, just from what you're saying. But when you look up what abandon is, if they would study, if we would all study, we would realize that abandon has to have the intent to abandon. And there never was the intent to abandon. Abandonment is hard to prove in that respect.
Roz, not to cut your wisdom, I'm just saying I'm laying these things out there because, one thing I do is I keep measuring the pulse all around in terms of the frequencies and vibrations of the picture mindset of those that I'm dealing with, and I'm just saying that these are some of the things that are out there. And the final and fourth thing that I just wanted to add to that was whether or not you guys ever heard of someone named Judge Anna, and I can't think of her other name, but she seems to have put together a whole condemnation of the United States court, but at the same time, it's still like, to me, it's still like I'm not sure because I haven't read the actual document. I just heard it read, and I haven't been to it on the computer for a while. It seems like every time I get one working, it seems to get knocked off, and so
well, there has to be clarity. I'm not sure of the document that you're talking about, but I just wanted to make some clarity here. You know, we have to make sure that when we say United States and we say United States of America, we are very clear of the difference of the two and use that terminology properly, because the United States is really representative, as we have said, it's like an interface, if you will, for we the people, which would be the Moors, the United Moors of the estate. So the United States doesn't have any inherent sovereignty because it's really just a metaphor that represents the people to interface with the United States of America and any other citizens of various ranks. So a lot of times, because we don't make the distinction, we'll be talking about the United States of America and say the United States, or we'll be talking about the United States and say the United States of America. But if we read the Constitution, it clearly makes a distinction that there is a United States president and there is a United States of America president. But even though we're not present or conscious or active, the law of the land remains as is until or unless we do something different, which is not going to happen no time soon. It can't be changed. It's granted. It is what it is, and no one has the authority to change it, which I'm sure is why Prophet Noble Ali said, look, the supreme issue is to enforce the Constitution because it, although written for the United States of America, to keep them from abusing. You know, remember he said, enforce it so that you are not molested by other citizens. So we have to be real clear in our jurisdiction, and that means in our right words, that we use the United States and the United States of America properly, because the European, the modern Europeans that are, you know, like what you said earlier, trying to supplant themselves, they're going around right now saying they're American. They're doing all this stuff in the name of America. Well, America the land, and the United States of America, which is the corporations occupying, or where the states, which is what the states were formed and styled under. These are different things, and that also is right in the preamble. You know, we the people of the United States do ordain this for the United States of America. So our duty and responsibility is to enforce it. Absolutely to enforce it, especially against others who infringe upon it. And I wanted to say that, again, I haven't read the document and I'm not sure, but there may be even some Moors who, like, that wrote this document you're talking about, oh, it's abandoned, and really they need to be plunked upside the head because, you know, that's what this whole thing is about, them claiming it, not abandoning it. But that happens, let me just say this, that happens because the understanding and overstanding of who is who and what is what does not exist within them. A lot of people believe, for some vague reason, that the Union States forming the United States of America has some power and authority and reign over America, the land, estate. And they don't. That's why in chapter 47, the prophet says, you will gain back your heritage and your lost estate. But in a conflict, it can't be told in words. So, and then he describes what that is, which is what where the geographical loose boundaries are, which means we're standing on it, right? And we still think that someone else has the authority over it. Or we still think, to bring back earlier, that we have to naturalize into the United States of America when it was established, for others who would be occupying our land, so there's no way that we can. So, and then that goes back to the mental slavery we're in. So, I don't know. I think getting concepts straight would be important, but you can get them straight by reading the Constitution.
Right now, and again, not to cut the wisdom on that, but I just laid those things on the table for the clarity's sake that's needed. You know, I ran into someone today because I walk around. I have a hat with feathers, and I have the picture of the prophet. And the gentleman, I should say, the brother asked, well, who's that picture? Is that you? And it was kind of like, you know, I don't know if he was smirking or what, but, you know, so I explained to him, no, that's the prophet. You know, you haven't heard of him? He said, no, what's his name? You know, so I said, that's Nobuju Ali. I said, wow, man, you know, you should have heard of him, and he actually came for your children. They should have heard of him this day and time. And he makes a statement like, oh, well, what country is he from? I said, wow, you really don't get it. I see you don't even know what you're asking me.
Islam, Brother Dunhill. If he has not received this information, how is it that you think he would know?
I don't know. It's just something about the way he had questioned who he was. And, you know, the way, I mean, I don't really, I mean, do you guys think I look a little like him? I don't know. I mean, I know
I really don't.
Camalayo type, you know, features, but, you know,
well,
but I'm just saying that.
We're all family, so of course we all carry some of the similar characteristics and features because we're all one family. But what I just would like to get you to see is that a lot of people a lot of our family is not going to know who Prophet Nobuju Ali is. A lot of them is not going to know what he came for. A lot of them is not going to know the message, and because we all suffer under a mental conditioning that has been implanted into our craniums by these institutions, which are really corporations or sub-corporations of the county corporations that are called schools. Now, they create these institutions to make sure that they have a new crop of revenue generators. So if they were to tell us the truth, they would not have any revenue generators, how it is. So unless you're going to direct the brother or sister, as the case may be, to RVBey Publications and advise them to read it, and if they want further information, you know, there's some documents or books and things that they can purchase or download, and there's so much free information on RVBey Publications. You can get lost for years just going through the information on the website. That's all you can do.
True.
And that's all you can do. And what I lastly, I would like to add. Go ahead. And then lastly, I would like to add
real quick.
Go ahead.
He had mentioned about the bibliophilia text, that which much called the Bible, and that the prophet said not to give it up because really, in short, and I figured Ms. would answer that, but we may not have time. It's really a elementary astrology book. Mm-hmm. It's about So it's not what people think it is, and that's why he said it. So you're right, because a lot of people want to throw it out because it's the Christian thing, and it's really not that at all.
Right.
Yeah.
If I could just add on briefly on that, my fault. A couple of weeks ago, it might have been anywhere between like 5 to 8 weeks ago, I think we did a broadcast about that, about the symbology in the Bible. We was talking about the 12 tribes, and Cujo went into what Israel means. I forgot what dictionary he was reading from. But if you look at it from that aspect, it is some truth in there. But you will have to know how to read it. You know, it's like you can't. It's almost like if you don't know Chinese hieroglyphs, you know, you can look at them, but you might not really comprehend what's being said, though you see what's there. Kind of like the same thing with how the holy books are written. You know, it's just that you have to have the ancillary information to actually comprehend what you do see, or you might, you know, walk away with a wrong concept. But not to say wrong, it's just like all of those books are on the as above, so below story. And when I say that, I mean like they're basically codified stories about the stars. That's really what it is in the universal energies. To say it in concise form, because I know we don't have a lot of time left, but concisely, That's what it is. So even when you look at the 101s, it's just showing you or exhibiting stronger, you know, what was embodied in that. And I'll leave it there for now, fam.
All right. Well, that concludes our broadcast. We thank everyone for listening. Internet listeners, peace and love. Thank you for listening. Callers, thank you so much for joining us, lending us your energy. Tomorrow there will not be a physical class near the Harlem Corporation at Northwest Maxim, but there will be a blog talk broadcast beginning at 7:30, so make sure and check it out. It is just a listening event, as every Wednesday is. So make sure and check it out. She'll see you back here.
Corrector.
It's a concept corrector. We shall see you back here next week, same time, same bad channel. We're going to close out with our sister Mizari and Pharaoh's Army. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Our problem is lack of knowledge and the intended deceit and trickery done, because even those who read the bibliotext that you call the Bible says teach a fool even the most believe. So even those who think they're highly educated and this and that, they've been fooled. That's it. It's not really complicated.
It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows it, to those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows it, to those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. The gods are back, the Moors are strapped. We waking up, and we want our land back. Running off, that's a trap. You know them guys don't like that. Waking up from a nap, like where the hell my crown at? Take a step back, like I know this bitch ain't bite back. It's kinda crazy how this karma it strikes back. We enslaved Islam, so they slaved us right back. We called them niggas, then they niggered us right back. We brought them to light, but they ain't bring that right back. If I was lazy, dirty dancing with the baby, then maybe, then just maybe won't revolt like Haiti. I too smart, Lova, Tor, Marcus, Garvey, your ass. Nova, Julia, R. leading, God body the man. Now I ain't gotta be bad, and you ain't gotta be mad, but the planet is heating up, so the first I'll be last. I got that melanin that's better than anything you ever medicine. We at your front door, wonder why you never